Many of you know that I love history, and so in trying to preach about the point of Easter, I'd like to begin just with a historical incident. So we've now, for the last 3 years, been hearing about and seeing images of the horrible war in Ukraine. But that part of the world, this is not the first time they've suffered that way in the midst of violence and the death of war. So today's war is bad, but the worst war in history was the Second World War. And within that war, the decisive front, we Americans like to think about D-Day and the Battle of the Bulge, where our ancestors may have fought. But the really decisive front was the Eastern Front, going right through Ukraine. It was there that the Nazi and the Soviet empires fought this battle to the death between 1941 and 1945. Two worst totalitarian dictatorships in history locked in this battle. Tens of millions of soldiers and civilians, they were destroyed without a trace. These little lives that are not recorded by history for the most part. And yet they were wiped away. But I want to today look at one small life where there's a trace left over. This is, I want to talk about Alexander Zakepa. He was a common soldier and a private in the Soviet army. And in 1972, in an underground Soviet newspaper, this was officially an atheistic society in the Soviet Union, but there was underground literature being passed around. And in one of those underground magazines in 72 was this prayer that had been written by Alexander Zakepa, composed just before the battle in which he died there on the Eastern Front. And it was found on his body, stuffed into his jacket pocket. That's how it survived. And the prayer begins thus. Hear me, O God. In my lifetime I have not spoken with you even once, but today I desire to celebrate. Since I was little, they have always told me that you didn't exist, and I, like an idiot, believed it. I've never contemplated your works, but tonight I have seen from the crater of a grenade the sky full of stars, and I have been fascinated by their splendor. In that instant I have understood how terrible is the deception. I don't know, O God, if you will give me your hand, but I say to you that you understand me. Is it not strange that in the middle of a frightful hell, light has appeared to me, and I have discovered you? I have nothing more to tell you. I feel happy because I have known you. At midnight we have to attack, but I am not afraid. You see us. They have given the signal. I have to go. How good it was to be with you. I want to tell you, and you know, that the battle will be difficult. Perhaps this night I will go to knock on your door. And if up to now I have not been your friend, when I go, will you allow me to enter? So I take that small prayer from this soldier as a way in which we look at why Easter is so important. Why is this celebration the highlight of our year? It's the greatest of Christian feasts. And we celebrate and sing today because Easter answers the most important question in our life. Ultimately, I think it's the only question. Everything else pales in significance. And we're all fighting in a great war in our lives. And I just think our war takes different forms for different people. It can be pain, fear, suffering, death. And living in this world, again, like Zakepa, it's a mixture of beauty and evil. I think it can be accurately described as looking at the stars from a crater on that battlefield. And like Alexander, we're all going to die in the battle. We're all going to die. So that's the question. Will our lives and loves, which are the only really valuable things in the world, will they survive somehow, somewhere? Or is this it? It ends in darkness. And that's a question at the heart of every human life. And the answer to that question is Easter. Again, we heard in that first reading from the Acts of the Apostles that Peter was talking to this crowd, and he was saying, we've seen him alive. He ate and drank with us. This is not an illusion. This is not a symbol. That he had marks in his hands from the nails and he ate with us. He was dead and he's alive. We live beyond death. He's the proof. And so, in the middle of the war, sometimes it seems like everything's darkness and evil. It's all bad and pain. And the rulers of this world don't seem to care. They may not be as bad as Hitler and Stalin in Zakhepa's time, but you know how it is. Caesar kills again and again. But on that morning, 2,000 years ago, Caesar didn't win, and death didn't win. So Jesus, the crucified, rose from the dead, and death no longer had any more power over him. And that's what we're afraid of, death. So, Jesus says, I am the resurrection and the life. He who believes in me, even if he dies, will live, and everyone who believes in me will never die. And again, on Easter, he showed this was true. That's why this celebration is so important. So by his resurrection, Jesus has won for us a place where our personal war in time and space will end to make way for an eternity where love and understanding at last is full and perfect. Not just the love between me and God, or you and God, but our loves together. These survive. And I don't know what your war looks like today. But I do know that, like Alexander Zakhepa, he said the battle will be difficult. He was facing literally a battle in minutes. Well, our faith in Jesus doesn't spare us from human death or suffering any more than it did him. Our faith does make all the difference, though. It offers us hope in the face of death and the crosses that we have. Just as it did for Alexander that night. He had the experience of God that night. It changed his life, changed it. We've discovered there's something the world doesn't know. We know the ending. We live forever with love, if we choose that. That's the ending. And so I say, all of those here today who maybe already know that, you have that faith, I would simply say, appreciate it more deeply, share it more with others. Many are still hiding in the craters. They don't see the stars. Sometimes, if this Easter your faith and hope are shaken, or maybe they're weak, I pray that this Mass and the grace of this Eucharist may help you to know again the peace Christ brings to your war. And there's some who do not believe in that hope for your peace, do not believe Jesus is risen from the dead and now lives forever. Well, I have good news for you. It's true. I have come to know this new life Jesus brings, and so can you by following his way. Last night at the vigil, we brought into the church, I think there's 22 people brought into the church last night. Again, people who have seen something more and have started to live that way. And so don't believe those who deny it. Alexander said, they taught me that you didn't exist. God exists and will open the door if we knock. So Alexander Zakhepa, he finished the first and the last prayer, the only prayer of his life. He finished it this way. But what's happening to me? I cry. My God, look at what has happened to me. Only now have I begun to see with clarity. My God, I go. It will be difficult to return. How strange now, death does not make me afraid. So again, Christ is risen. And that's why we celebrate Easter, because now we no longer need to fear death or darkness, and that changes everything.